Friday. You made it. We're at the end of another work week, albeit a bit of a different one with that Tuesday day off for many of you, but we're here. We're at the finish line. You can see it. It's almost right there. I just very quickly want to send a shout out to our news team this morning, to Blake Priddle and to Shelley Summers, who, as you just listened to, do a fantastic job and walked into a hornet's nest this morning when they got to work. I don't know if you understand how digital we are these days, and all the computers were down, and they managed to work their way through that and get the news out to you, and it's not easy. I've been there, and I just wanted to acknowledge the hard work that they did this morning to keep you all informed. So good job to Shelley and good job to Blake, and I'm sure they're going to enjoy their weekend after that day today. Another wet day here in HRM. Saw some pics, though, from Moncton. Did you see that? They got snow on the ground there today. There was a special weather statement for that area kind of along the border with Nova Scotia. You know, the Cobequid Pass, right? It snows in there in August. At least that's the rumor. And they're getting snow there today with all this rain that we're getting. So if you're heading up that way and you're heading in towards New Brunswick, you may want to take heed that you may come across some snow on the ground there. The weather does look dry, however, for tomorrow. And that's important because it's the annual Parade of Lights tomorrow. It's somebody told me once, and I think I'll believe it, but I think it's probably the biggest Christmas parade that is east of Montreal. So it's huge. It's well attended. I know many of you have been to these things before where the weather has been uncooperative, I will say. I marched in it one year and it was freezing rain, and I marched in it one year and it was a snowstorm. I've marched in it when it was nice. The only downside to the forecast that I can see for the Parade of Lights tomorrow is that it might be a little breezy out there. And we know that when we get wind, and it all is based on direction. If it's coming off the harbor, things get a little bit cool, I will say. So anyway, I know lots and lots of people are expected to attend that parade tonight or tomorrow night. So if you're looking for something to do with the kids on the weekend, get down there. It's always a lot of fun. Congratulations from our show to Brad Marchand today, the local superstar forward, across that 1,000 NHL point plateau last night. Not an easy task to do it. Joins the company of some pretty prominent Nova Scotians on doing it. And I know you all have your own opinions about the way that Brad plays the game, but you can't take away that he is in rarefied air, I will say, when it comes to his scoring touch. And congratulations to Brad. I know his family are listening today, and it looks like some good news out of Province House, at least for those that were opposed to that golf course development in West Mabou Beach. The premier yesterday putting the brakes on that. Interesting, eh? The premier saying that they look at everything, they want to take a look at everything and all the proposals out there, but said that the proposed golf course that would take up part of that beautiful park was not appropriate. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? And I know that some of you will suggest that perhaps I'm looking at conspiracy theories that aren't there, but this isn't the first time when we've had something from this government get floated and then some discussion and some time passes and some pushback, we'll say, from Nova Scotians, and then government changes its mind or decides not to move forward with it, right? We saw it with the Auditor General. We've seen it now with this proposal. There's several instances where they're called trial balloons. That's the terminology for it, and it seems to be contentious issues like this that the government will float and see which way the tide is rising, I will say, and then make a decision on it. So the old saying that you can't fight City Hall or you can't fight Province House, this one a victory. Now, this wasn't the first time that somebody's tried or Cabot has tried to build a golf course on that spot. I think this is the third go-around. So I would imagine that the people that we had on the program here and those that were opposed to the plan to build that golf course on that park are happy today, but the battle has been won. But is the war over? Or are we going to get another incarnation of another development proposal for these parks? I think that the premier would be wise to meet with his cabinet and discuss what is appropriate for provincial parks moving forward so that everybody's on the same page. because a provincial park is a protected land, and it should be protected. So the roundabout way to make things this decision, we have to say that I think that the province made the right decision. The Premier made the right decision on West Mabou Beach. And enough with the trial balloons, right? Let's move forward. Sail GP. I always want to call it Sail GPT for whatever reason. Maybe it's because of all the talk about that chatbot. But Sail GP, if you don't know what this is a pretty significant event. It's huge. It's sailing, racing, and it's been in Halifax before. It was here a couple of years ago. An announcement yesterday that it is coming back this year or for next summer. And it was well attended last time. It was quite popular. The harbor was lined with spectators. On the heels of the announcement yesterday, I heard, I was on CTV News last night, that ticket sales have been brisk to say the least, and is selling quickly if it's not already sold out. So if you're looking to go down to watch this event this year, you might want to secure a ticket if you can, because it certainly is popular, and as I understand it, the organizers really had a good experience when they were here last time. The spectators, it was kind of off, right? But they had a lot of wind. And I think that when you're a sailboat and you're a racer, you want wind, right? I don't know if there's probably too much. There's no doubt about that. But we can't do much about Mother Nature. And I understand it, listening to the interview last night on CTV, that there's work in progress to try and make this an annual stop for the Sail GP Tour. This thing goes all over the world, right? And the mayor, Andy Fillmore, was on the news last night saying that there are millions of eyes on Halifax and the Halifax Harbor the last time this was around, and these events always create these big number economic spin-offs, and it's the marketing, right? That stuff is priceless. The people get a chance to see how beautiful this place is. I say it all the time, and then they want to come here. Congratulations to HRM. You probably heard the story this morning on the news. We now have the fourth most expensive rental market in the country. New data came out this week that we are now number 4, behind Vancouver, Burnaby, which with my rudimentary geography is essentially a suburb of Vancouver, Toronto, and then Halifax. Ahead of cities like Montreal, Ottawa, Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton. Number 4. I did some basic research on this, and I tried to compare the average household median and the average salary between us, and there's still a misconception out there, I think, and I didn't get good numbers is what I'm trying to get to here, and I'll do some more research on that later, but there's still a misconception here from places to the west of us that Nova Scotia is it's a beautiful place to live, and we know that. That's no secret. But it's also the cost of living is cheaper here, and that's just not the case anymore. Right? We've had this discussion on many different angles, right? We're talking about the grocery store yesterday. Now we're talking about rents. I think it was the average rent for a 2-bedroom in this study was about $2,500. Now, those numbers are coming down, and the survey did show that there was a slight decline, but not near as much as we have seen in the housing market or in the rental markets in different cities. Vancouver saw a significant decline. Toronto has seen a significant decline. And moving out further from the rental market into the housing market, if you were listening to Mortgage 101 earlier this month, and if you haven't, you can pick that up off of our website. There's a link to it in our audio page. It's in a podcast form, and Clinton Wilkins, our mortgage guru, said that the real estate markets in some of the bigger cities, like in Vancouver and particularly in Toronto, are seeing significant declines, and the condo market in Toronto is absolutely collapsing. But we're not seeing it here. Halifax is bucking the trend. Now, it's been my experience in my 20 years living here that that Halifax and Nova Scotia tend to be a little bit behind national trends when it comes to this kind of stuff. And we may see this in 2026, where we see a decline in housing prices and we see a bigger decline in rental prices. But number 4 in the country. That's an eye-opener, isn't it? That it costs you more to live here. Taxes are higher here than in a bigger city like Montreal or Ottawa or Gatineau. It continues to be very expensive to live in Nova Scotia. And very quickly, I want to address a story that was in the news yesterday, and you heard it this morning, and that was the Remembrance Day service in Annapolis Royal. That's where now Liberal MP Chris D'Entremont was in attendance. And when he got up to lay a wreath, there were boos. Now, politics is a contact sport, right? Particularly in our part of the world, because I think we're closer to our politicians here because they live very the ridings are smaller here than in different parts of the world and the country. And you may not have agreed with Mr. D'Entremont's decision to leave the Conservative caucus and join the Liberal Party. And that's fine. That's your right. And if you live in Acadianapolis, you're going to get an opportunity to pass judgment on that. Many people have passed judgment on Mr. D'Entremont's decision to defect on this show and on others. I heard people talking about it on Rob Snow this week. But it's a Remembrance Day service. It's a solemn ceremony honoring veterans and those that gave the ultimate sacrifice for this country. Not the place for politics. Period. I think it was inappropriate for people to boo Mr. D'Entremont when he was going through the process of what many MPs do across the country and laying wreath. Not appropriate. Talk to him after. Talk to him before. Boo him the next time you see him at a county fair, or you see him at an event, at a Christmas parade. But not at a Remembrance Day service. Going to stop and take a break here on the program. It is the fabulous Friday edition of the show. When we come back, we're going to dig a little bit deeper into that decision from the Premier yesterday to put the brakes on a proposal to build a golf course at West Mabou Beach. A conversation with the president of the Tourism Industry Association of Nova Scotia. That's Darlene Grant Fiander, and she will be our guest when we return. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ostrand. Happy Friday. We're back in minutes. Province yesterday announcing that they would move no further on a proposal to allow a golf course to be built in a beautiful part of Nova Scotia that's already protected as a provincial park, and that, of course, being West Mabou Beach. And I know, as I mentioned in the opening of the show today, that those that were fighting that proposal would likely consider that a win, but I don't think they think the war is over, and with this being the third attempt to do so, I don't think that they're far off from that. And Nova Scotia's public parks and open spaces are not only important for the environment, but they're also important for us, right? It's a place that we can go, and if you've been to West Mabou Beach or you've seen pictures of it, it's a beautiful place, right? It's a wonderful beach, and it's a place for Nova Scotians to get out and enjoy Nova Scotia and to be protected from development. Very pleased to welcome to the show to give us a little bit of a perspective on this, the president of the Tourism Industry Association in Nova Scotia. That's Darlene Grant Fiander. Darlene, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Dan.
This is an evolving story. Obviously, when we first set this up, this was still ongoing, but now it seems to have run its course and isn't going to happen. I would imagine happy to hear that.
Yeah, we absolutely are happy to hear that. But, I feel that, like the community, I think there's still lots of work to do. As you know, this was the third attempt at that site for West Mabou. So we hope that we can move forward to, that the government will strengthen the regulations that enshrine the protection, what they were intended to be, so that any future requests for development are mitigated for sure.
This is an interesting discussion, I would imagine, in the field that you work in, Darlene, being that tourism and golf is a tourist attraction, but so are parks, and this was the sort of the pitch, right? Was that this would be a generator for the economy and would bring tourists in?
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely support new tourism development. New investment in the province is terrific. It just doesn't have to happen in our protected areas and our public parks. The work to establish the protected areas network has been years in the making, and we see the economic value in these places in the state that they're in. And the government's done studies on this. In 2017, they hired Gardner Pinfold to do a study on the commercialization of businesses around the parks, the opportunities for the province at all the sites. So there's lots of economic opportunity to even further enhance what these sites do. But right now, they generate a lot of interest. People come here to experience those special places, and adventure tourism and recreation is important. So, it is difficult because it is a golf course is part of the tourism industry, but there's lots of land in Nova Scotia for sale, and we hope to look at another location. But our public parks and our protected areas should be off limits and be maintained for Nova Scotians.
It's important, I think, and they're a tourist destination in their own right, right?
Absolutely. The economics of those places and people's ability to experience them. There's a lot of research that's been done over the last number of years, and particularly since COVID, there's been a heightened awareness of the places people seek out, and also the economic value of these places in themselves, as I mentioned earlier, and places that support environmental stewardship of their assets. People are looking for that type of thing. It's like when you go to Europe sometimes, what you expect to see. And I think Nova Scotia, with its incredible natural assets, are positioned on the coast. People expect certain things when they come here. And, the Protected Areas Network is certainly one of the assets we had in terms of the incredible places that they are. And as I said in earlier interviews, they were selected for, a reason. The biodiversity, the habitat that's there, the ability for people to access them. And there's a lot of activities that do take place in them, whether it's sport fishing or hiking or lots of ways to generate economic activity, maintaining them as they are.
Darlene, there's been a lot of talk about tourism this year, right? We've heard all kinds of anecdotal information about an increase in visits this year because of some of the ongoing situations with the United States. Do we know how the season's been, or is it still too early?
It's a little early, but the numbers in August show that, we're pacing. It's been a good year. The American market is kind of on par with 2024 based on the numbers we've seen, which is great. The U.S. market's incredibly important to us. So, when we hear the political discourse underway, we don't want to really get involved in that because, people are seeking, we have good friendships in the United States. People like our product. The exchange rate is great. So, we caution policymakers the rhetoric isn't always good for businesses. So it's been positive. We think last year the industry generated $3.5 billion, employing almost 60,000 people across the province. So it's incredibly important. But a big part of that is, our natural assets and the type of product that we have. So it's somewhat not everything is for sale or should be for sale, and our protected areas and our public parks should be just no-go zone, So while this is great that they pulled back, and I'm happy for the community, the work's not done. And for once and for all, we need to decide, what these mean to us. The government's already on record saying how important they are. The tourism industry believes they're important. We're the largest sector in the province in terms of the service sector, and the new tourism strategy is out. So we need to put this to bed for once and all, value our public parks, leverage them as best we can, look for other opportunities, without giving them away.
That makes absolute sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Darlene, we know that 2025 is coming to a close, right? And we're
Mm-hmm.
looking into 2026. I know it's almost impossible to predict these days, but are you expecting to see numbers like we saw this year when we move into 2026?
Well, the thing about tourism, it's, the industry is incredibly resilient. When you think about what's happened, we're kind of affected by everything that happens in the global economy, and coming out of COVID, where the industry was totally shut down, and we've been rebuilding. So it is incredibly resilient, and tourism is a very positive industry. So not only does it kind of generate a lot of economic activity for the province, socially, culturally, and environmentally, it kind of enhances our communities. Rural Nova Scotia, without tourism would be a very different place. And so I think we'll continue to grow. We have a new tourism strategy that the government is just committed to, focusing on 6 pillars. And I think if we focus on those 6 pillars and look at how we can leverage, we could almost double the revenue that comes into the province.
Lots of Canadians are choosing to come here that may have never been before, or
Mm-hmm.
are making a return visit because A, this is such a beautiful place to be, but B,
Mm-hmm.
because of the ongoing situation with the United States.
Yes, that for sure. Canadians stayed home this year, and people just rediscovered the place they live, which is important. I mean, I think the sense of pride of place, Nova Scotians, Atlantic Canadians, but other parts of Canada came back, which is an important part of the market regardless. But regardless of what happens domestically, the international market is still incredibly important. So Europe, we had an increase in visitation from Europe. They stay longer, they spend more. As I said, the United States market is incredibly important. I mean, We're connected culturally to that market, and they spend more and they stay longer. So, a robust tourism industry, you need to look at all those things. But certainly the domestic piece helps us weather the ups and downs of the market, and important. And the other part of that is, again, people get a sense of pride when they visit this place or this country or another part of Canada. It's a pretty spectacular place to live.
I say it all the time. We're so lucky to live here, and people spend thousands of dollars, which is great for the tourism industry, just to come to see where we live every day, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Pretty lucky.
Darlene, very quickly, we had a big announcement yesterday. SailGP's coming back. We've got the Olympic curling trials here. How important are these big marquee events for the tourism industry?
Actually, incredibly important. And, the SailGP in particular, I mean, all of a sudden, the media coverage, how that showcased Nova Scotia, Halifax, the harbor, I mean, it took us to a whole other level. Incredibly important, and the economic impact is significant. One of the pillars in the new strategy talks about how we have to focus on more of those types of events, but looking at them too in the off season, so that we're moving people around the province, that we're generating economic activity, not in the peak times. So events is one of those ways that we can and will, really increase our economic activity. But it opens us up to the world, and the visuals from that event in particular, spectacular. They're going to join us at the Tourism Summit in 2 weeks and tell us about the next year's event. So that'll be exciting.
Darlene, appreciate your time. Have a great weekend.
Dan, thanks for reaching out. Thank you very much.
Darlene Grant Fiander, the president of the Nova Scotia Industry Tourism Association of Nova Scotia. We're going to stop, take a break. Blake's going to update us on what's going on in the news. On the other side of it, it's time for our weekly chat with our friend from Summa Strategies and Abacus Data, that being Tim Powers. You're listening to The Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrand. We're back in minutes. Friday edition, the fabulous Friday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrand. Glad you're able to spend a few minutes with us. Of course, big news coming out of Ottawa yesterday. A bunch of new projects that have been added to the list of these major projects that are going to get fast-tracked in the country. Mark Carney spending a little bit or sharing a little bit of love, I guess, with British Columbia, maybe in an effort to appease Alberta. We saw a project in New Brunswick. We saw one in Ontario. Didn't see Win West in that list. I wonder what our next guest has to say about that. Or is he still bleary-eyed because he was up watching the Patriots go to 9-2 last night, Tim Powers?
Actually, option C, Dan. I was up last night watching the Sens beat the Bruins, and I know you got a few Bruins fans there.
Yeah.
Isn't that division just wild, at the moment? Here you have the Sens, the Canadians, the Bruins, all teams that, the Bruins in particular last year who had some struggles. The whole thing is upside down. So, it was wins all around last night, Dan, and now a win talking to you this morning. I mean, how lucky can a guy be?
There's a professional broadcaster with a segue right in the middle of that. I figured for sure you were going to be on the Patriots bandwagon since who they beat last night.
I'm still Tom era. I'm happy they're doing so well, and very happy they beat that team. Our buddies' team and stuff. But I'm good. I'm good.
It is good. Tim, you've been busy this week, obviously, with all the news breaking in Ottawa and all the money that's going to get spent on these projects. You surprised at the list, or is this kind of where you thought it was going to go?
It seems to have been well telegraphed that this is where it was going to go. I would have two observations, and I'm going to break the news to the audience. It won't shock some of them. They're not original. They're borrowed, but they're borrowed from people who are closer to this whole thing than I am. Look, I think this major project office is a good thing. It has the potential to be a good thing, and I think what is intended here is a good thing. I like when I see Dawn Farrell, the head of the office, explain things to Canadians. I think she did a good job doing that yesterday. I guess I would raise two things that I heard from Candice Lang, the head of the Chamber of Commerce yesterday, and the Ontario Energy Minister, Stephen Lecce, referenced them both. So it is great that we have this, what we could call, I guess, Dan, concierge service. You get on this list and you get prioritized, well, then everything goes your way. But, we're getting into a two-list system, or maybe a three-list system, where if you're not on the list or moved up on the list, then you're in the old system. How long is that sustainable? So what Candice Lang and Stephen Lecce, the Ontario Energy Minister, were saying is we got to get to a place where we can do one project, one review for everybody, so that decisions can be made as to go or no go faster. The second thing is that list system. Like, are we going to create now this whole other culture of jockeying that is going to, favor those who are more well-financed than others? And maybe that's the way it should be. But so project's not surprised. The debate now about how this works going forward is interesting. Where the rubber hits the road, and there were no tire factories in all of this. No good tire factories in Atlantic Canada. We haven't had those in years. Anyway, that's
Michelin
aside.
Plant.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
That aside, I think Canadians are going to be watching for how quickly these things can get started and how quickly the jobs and the financial opportunities from them flow. Yes, there's some investment already, so there are some financial opportunities, but the Prime Minister, I think, will have ultimately be scored not just on how fast they get approved, but how quickly they open their doors, and there's economic benefit that's obvious in Canada.
Mines, gas, pipelines, not the Liberal Party of the past, is it?
Justin, who you say? Yeah, and for my perspective, I'm happy. I think many Atlantic Canadians are happy with that. But you did see, and Pierre Poilievre in his own fumbled pushback tried to make the point of, look, there's some trouble in Liberal land over the abdication of the Trudeau agenda. And that's, the Poilievre aspect of it, there is going to be some of that. I mean, there are a lot of people who were on Justin Trudeau's ticket who are still in the federal Liberal government who, want it to be pioneers in environmental reform. That doesn't seem to be the immediate priority of Mark Carney. So how does this play out politically? But Mark Carney enjoys running that bus over a lot of Justin Trudeau's policy.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that one. Do I read anything into this that we didn't hear anything about the much ballyhooed Wind West project here in Nova Scotia?
I don't know. I mean, it seems, again, with the projects that have been announced, they are fairly far advanced anyway, and what I guess the intent of the major project office is to make them go faster and remove whatever current impediments they have. So that may simply be where it is. These ones are ahead of the others, and they can be actioned more quickly. So the lift of the office isn't as significant right now.
You mentioned Pierre Poilievre earlier this week. He said, no, I'm good. I'm not going to change my leadership style after a defection and a retirement in his caucus.
Yeah, and I wrote a piece critiquing that well, not him specifically, but the whole of last week and how it was mishandled. And I'm still getting attacked by the Poilievre trolls. It's a wonderful life. But, I would say two things on this. And as you and I know, when we open our mouths, we're subject to critics, and that's part of the game. So I got no complaints about that. But I think I know I don't need to reflect, and I'm blasting forward. I'm the only one speaking for affordability. That his hardcore support, which Abacus tells us loves him a lot, loved all of that. But I think the bigger challenge with all of that is, they love it, but the rest of the public, who might be inclined to give him some opportunity because they may like some of what he does in speaking to the affordability challenges, find it struggling. And again, Abacus pointed that out there. There is this weird paradox with Poilievre, loved by, 70% of conservative people who identify as conservatives, and not loved by just about everybody else. I don't know, Dan. I think it's a mark of good leadership in any organization to say, I am reflecting a little bit, because I'm sure you do it after you spend a week on air. I do it after I spend a week on air. How could I have done something better? Even if you thought it was the best week, I think it's pretty natural for all of us to just say, what did I do right? What might I improve upon? So when you have somebody who would lead the country not even acknowledge that he might reflect, I think among most middle of the road people, they're like, I'm not sure that's the right approach.
Tim, we saw some polling data earlier this week about the federal budget, and not a lot of Canadians were overly enthusiastic, I'll say, about it because of some of the long-term goals in it, and not a lot of short-term relief. Is this document and this debate and so on and so forth, is that hurting, or will that hurt Mark Carney when it comes to the latest round of polling?
I don't know if it will now, but it could. Look, where Poilievre is right, and where the opportunity exists for the Conservatives and the New Democrats and others, is that no matter how many announcements you do about major project offices and how much you do for the long term, people are feeling it in the immediate term, whether it be at the grocery store or, in fees they're paying and the like. And I think the Prime Minister still has the benefit of the doubt with the public, but that could turn fairly quickly unless they get their own sense of relief coming and some economic improvement. So it's most certainly a vulnerability for the Prime Minister. I mean, he was benefited last week by the fact that the Conservatives were falling all over themselves, and there wasn't the opportunity for them to offer a sustaining critique on the woes in the budget as they saw them.
Tim, have a fantastic weekend. Go Senators?
They're playing the Kings on Saturday night. Might go out and watch. Dan might go out and watch. We'll see.
Beat my Maple Leafs too, who are in a
the Maple who? The Maple Sox. We'll get at that next week. Okay. Goodbye, buddy. Have a nice weekend. That is
Tim Powers, our good friend from Summa Strategies and Abacus Data. Oh, it just feels almost wrong that the Ottawa Senators are having a better season thus far than the Toronto Maple Leafs. All is not well in the hockey world. Might be something you want to talk about. We're going to open up the telephone lines for the Friday free-for-all. That's going to happen after 11 o'clock. But before that, we've talked about it on a couple of different occasions when we've had Dr. Rob Thacker in here and the placement and the need for a spaceport here in Nova Scotia, right? We know that the Maritime Launch Services is up and running, and they're getting ready to launch a rocket from Canso. And next week, a conversation with the founder, CEO, and director of Maritime Launch Services, Stefan Mattier, will be your guest. You're listening to The Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We are back after this break. Welcome back. This is the Todd Veinotte Show. It is the Fabulous Friday edition. We've been talking for several years now about the spaceport that is being constructed in Canso, and we've talked to Dr. Rob Thacker about it and some of the advantages that site has. Well, I think they're about to pass a pretty significant milestone, and that's going to happen next week when Maritime Launch Services is planning a rocket launch from Spaceport Nova Scotia near Canso, of course, weather permitting. This, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the first suborbital launches from the site and will be a major step forward into making this whole setup there a reality. Very pleased to welcome to the program the man behind the spaceport. That is Stephen Mattier. Stephen, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
I guess this is Christmas come early for you guys, right? This is a pretty significant milestone on the 18th.
Yeah, it really is a great opportunity for us to demonstrate our capabilities and really to continue to train our team for the future orbital launches to come.
What are you expecting? What will we see happen there on the 18th? Of course, if the weather cooperates.
Yeah, thank you. And you're right, the weather does matter. I think the 18th weather doesn't look so good, but the 19th looks better. Just my prognostication of the weather. But what we are launching is we're hosting a company from the Netherlands called T-Minus Engineering. They have a launch vehicle that they are intending to bring to market, and so it's a great collaboration for us for team building, for them from some of their marketing. But the vehicle is, probably 5 meters tall, and it is expected to reach over 100 kilometers of altitude, which in the parlance is called the Kármán line, and that's the edge of space, if you will. So this will be the first time in 25, 27 years that we in Canada have put anything above the Kármán line from a launch.
This is obviously the next step in making this a fully functional commercial spaceport.
Exactly right.
This will people be able to see it? Like, will you be able to see the rocket take off?
Absolutely. The community of Canso, Hazel Hill, Little Dover will certainly be able to see it. Depending on the cloud cover, it may disappear in the clouds fairly shortly after launch. But it'll certainly, it won't be very loud, but you would, hear it from the town as well as see it.
How close are you to becoming fully functional, to be up and running?
Well, indeed, as the suborbital launch goes, that is really speaking to our overall operational readiness. We've got a large work ahead of us to prepare for the orbital launch, which could come as early as next year. A lot of construction activities are starting to ramp up as we speak, and building off of a lot of the positive news we've been getting with some financing here from Export Development Canada, collaboration with MDA Space, and looking forward to continuing that development and really kicking in some construction activities next spring to really get that site up and running and ready.
See, and what's the benefit of being located in Canso when it comes to when you get to the next step to launching into space? Is it geographic? Is it a good spot?
It really is geographic and logistics. Those are the two pieces. One is the fact that we're hanging out over the top of the North Atlantic with nothing but ocean all the way down to South America and over to Africa. So that expanse of water is really perfect for launching rockets into orbit and getting those satellites deployed into the trajectories in orbit that they want.
Is it a different orbit than they would get, say, if they launched from Cape Canaveral, where we see a lot of activity?
Oh, indeed, yes. So from Cape Canaveral, they're more looking at equatorial type launch platforms going around the Earth in that direction, where many of the satellites today, they're wanting to put them into what is called a polar type orbit, where it's more due south and off of polar a little bit to the east. Those are where these large constellations of satellites are going up into orbit that can provide global broadband and near-Earth imaging on almost a real-time basis. And Starlink is also in those same kind of satellites are in that same kind of trajectories. They try to launch out of Florida and Vandenberg to be able to get everything into the orbits that they need. And our site can do both from one spot.
How has the response from the satellite community been? Are you getting lots of inquiries of people looking to see when they can use your spaceport?
Oh yeah, and I think that really does speak to what MDA Space is becoming a partner with us as well, and working with Telesat and others about what that opportunity means for Canadians for sure. But it's also really of interest to satellite clients across North America and Europe as well. And at the end of the day, we're hosting these launch vehicles that are becoming and setting up and launching from our site. So the number of launch vehicle companies that want to use this facility is also growing.
When you're fully up and running, what are you expecting to? How many launches are we expecting to see a year? What's the number you've got circled on your calendar?
Well, we're currently approved for up to 8 launches a year for a medium-class launch vehicle.
Okay.
We'll figure we'll be able to grow past that, but let's get the first 8 per year up and running, and then we'll look at how the province and the community are responding to it.
So this launch is on the 18th. Weather dependent and if the weather's better than the 19th, would you move it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've got the way Transport Canada works with setting up the airspace and the notice to airmen, as they call it, to clear the skies. They set a window of 5 or 6 hours per day for about a week, recognizing that there could be weather delays along the way.
Well, best of luck, and keep us in the loop.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, happily to. We'll stay in touch.
All right. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Take care.
Stephen Mateer from Maritime Launch Services. There's going to be a rocket launch in Canso on the 18th of November, weather dependent. That, of course, is on Tuesday. Looking at the forecast, maybe get set to Wednesday, but would be something to see, wouldn't it? Not something you see emanating from Nova Scotia very often, and maybe the first of many. We'll have to wait and see. Getting ready to take our next break here. We're going to get an update on the news on the other side of it. It is time for the Friday Free-for-All. Often imitated, never duplicated, and it's your opportunity to talk about whatever it is on your mind. Lots of things to talk about, lots of interesting discussions this week, lots of discussion, lots of debate on various topics. I will point out, however, and maybe this is tooting our horn a little bit, but if you can recall back a couple of days ago when we started to have people call in and discuss the ongoing traffic nightmare, I'll call it, on St. Margaret's Bay Road at Peggy's Cove Road, well, if you took a look around, everybody is picking up that story. So the powers that be are listening. A perfect opportunity for you to raise the alarm, share the spotlight, put the target on an issue that has been bothering you, something you think needs an attention. That's the beauty of an open hour. You can talk about whatever it is on your mind. But one thing that kind of crossed my mind today is, I don't know if you saw this, but recently a song hit the #1 position on Billboard's country chart. And the song is completely done with AI. I'm interested in your thoughts on that. Is that the wave of the future? Are the super bands and the Taylor Swifts of the world going to be replaced by artificial intelligence? Just something to think about. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The open hour, the Friday free-for-all, after the news. Welcome back to the fabulous Friday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. It's time now for the Friday Free-for-All. Your chance to wrap up the work week and chat about whatever it is on your mind. You can get it off your chest as you head into yet another weekend here in Nova Scotia. I know it's going to be a busy weekend for many. I was having a conversation with a couple of colleagues that are going to the Parade of Lights tomorrow, and I know many of you are planning to do that. It's an annual tradition for many, and the annual tradition of getting soaking wet, it looks like that might not happen this year. But I will say, and Allister will be here, of course, in hour 3 to give us his weekend weather forecast. It looks like it's going to be dry, but I can't guarantee you that it isn't going to be windy. And the Parade of Lights is a lot of fun. If you haven't been before, I highly recommend it. But get there early and take transit, because I'll tell you, a lot of people go downtown, and it gets a little bit sideways when it comes to traffic, when all the parade routes are blocked off and all those people are trying to get from point A to point B. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Let's head to the phones. We'll start off today with Don. Don, how are you?
Good morning, young man. How are you today?
I like it when people call me young man. It makes me feel good.
Oh, you're younger than me.
Fair enough. What's on your mind, Don?
Well, I was telling Vanessa that, remember the bobblehead show we had for about a year or two?
The who?
On the bobblehead show.
Okay.
Yeah, Justin Trudeau and the bobblehead behind every time we said anything.
Right.
I'm not making fun of anybody, right? But the way they moved,
I understand it, with the people nodding in agreement every time he stood in the House of Commons. I get it.
Not in the Commons. I mean, when he done a speech.
Okay, fair enough.
There's three amigos. Now he just reinstated with Carney yesterday. Every time he said something, the bobbleheads. You got a new slew of new people of bobbleheads in there.
Right.
Yes, smiling. Anyway, and he does a lot of body language too. Did you notice, Carney?
Carney? No, not really. What do you mean?
Well, I'm not making fun of him really.
No.
Because body language is good when you're speaking. Okay.
Right.
But he looks like he's coming out to grab somebody with his physical hands and everything.
He does talk with his hands a lot. I'll give you that part. Yep.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And nothing wrong with that, because body language means good. Like, that means that you're not just standing there and all that. But the other thing is, too, Dan, we give you credit. There was a couple people that kind of listened to the show with me the other day, and they couldn't believe it. And that's Dan for you, same as Todd. You knew more about the budget than Shannon did. They timed it. I was saying it was 6 times in about less than 4 minutes. She was congratulating the budget and how good it looked and all that. And then you had more answers to that budget. You questioned her, and you had more answers than she did. And they couldn't get over it, really. And they live in that area, too, right, of hers.
Okay.
And it just goes to show, right? It just goes that people, you know what? People, when they vote, they just vote for the person there. They should have something upstairs, really. I'm not kidding you. When you go for a run for politics, you should have something upstairs, really. Seriously.
Don?
I don't know, but...
Don, I appreciate your call, sir. Have a fantastic weekend, okay?
Thanks, Todd. Thanks, Dan.
902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. I will not profess to know everything about the budget. I think when we were talking earlier this week about the changes to the veterans' disability benefits, that I didn't know. That one caught me off guard. It's very difficult, and I'm not making excuses for the MP at all. It's very difficult from my perspective on a 409-page document to get every nugget of information out there. And I will say, being that I've been at this game for a while, that MPs have very narrow talking points when it comes to that they describe what's the word I'm looking for? The way when they describe actions of government. It's not very often that you hear an MLA or an MP actually speak their mind about something that is that the government has done, if they agree with it or not. Gets you in trouble. It gets you sometimes turfed. But I appreciate the comments, Don. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Tim to the show. Tim, how are you?
Morning, Dan. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind today?
Sure. Well, the ongoing saga with Nova Scotia Power. Here we are, 6.5.
Did you see that story on CTV last night?
I did. 6.5 months later, and the information or the trickle information continues to flow out, which no doubt will adversely affect people. I'm not sure what senior management are doing or not doing, but at some point they have to be held accountable. And I'm not sure as a corporation what they are doing to try to rectify this situation and make it whole for their customers. Because at some point, when do we as a customer base say enough's enough? Because if the wrong people get that information, and there's tens of thousands of people that possibly will have their personal information adversely affected, it can create a lifetime of problems for them. And at some point, we have to be better and hold them accountable. And I'm not sure there has to be enough lawyers in Halifax or corporate lawyers in Halifax to be able to go, okay, what are we going to do?
Right, because, having credit monitoring is one thing, but even if you're monitoring your credit, by the time it gets to the credit report, it's too late.
100%. And at some point, that credit monitoring, they extended it by, I think, till 5 months, but 5 years. But at some point, somebody's going to figure this out. But by that point, it's going to be too late. But again, I'd like to know what Nova Scotia Power is doing to make sure, make sure that the information we provide is confidential, because thus far they've done an extremely poor job, and that lies on the CEO or the head of Nova Scotia Power.
I can't disagree with you, Tim.
Sure.
Have a good one. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. And if you did see the piece on CTV News last night, you saw that a fella in Cape Breton got one of the letters that they have sent out. That I got one, and I'm pretty sure you all have got one saying that you were subject to this and that your information was stolen. Well, a fella in Cape Breton got one for his father, who had passed away 18 years ago. It makes you wonder who's watching the cookie jar, right? I don't know what the answer is. I wish I did. I wish I had a clear answer as to how Nova Scotia Power makes us good on this one, right? Like I said, if you're on the credit reporting, that's something. But if your credit score goes sideways, isn't it too late? You have to it's on you to try and correct things, right? I didn't. Is a financial compensation the right way? They're asking for a rate increase. And if you're a contractor out there that does work for Emera, for Nova Scotia Power, holy smoke, some of you aren't even getting paid. Tim's right. There needs to be some kind of, because I don't know if can we do and I know it gets bannered about a lot. Whenever anything bad happens, we're all immediately calling for an inquiry. But I think this one's warranted. Right? We don't have a choice where we buy our electricity from. And then this breach happens. And breaches happen. But the handling of the whole thing, and then to ask for an increase for the next 2 years in 27, it's 6 and 7. It baffles me. And then to not pay your contractors. I think the Houston government, Tim Houston himself, have called these increases out of bounds, but that's all I've heard. Maybe it's time that we do have some form of an inquiry into the goings on at Nova Scotia Power, because Tim's not alone. I know many of you out there are frustrated. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. We're back after the break. Welcome back. It's the Friday Free for All, your chance to talk about whatever it is on your mind. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. That is the number. A couple of emails I want to share very quickly before we head back to the phone. This one comes to us from Rob on the decision yesterday by the Premier to put the brakes on a proposal for a golf course in West Mabou Park. He says, as I've said before, the West Mabou Park reversal follows Houston's usual public policy pattern. He puts out a measure as a trial balloon and waits to see how much negative feedback he gets from the public. If the feedback is too hot, he changes course and expects applause. And if people are complacent, he carries on with the initiative. And that one comes to us from Rob, and this one from Don. Dan, I totally agree. I agree totally, with your introductory comments about the disgusting behavior at the memorial. What I was talking about was Chris D'Entremont, of course, the now Liberal MP, I think it was Annapolis Royal, and while laying the wreath at the Remembrance Day ceremony, people booed him. He said, you're absolutely correct. But related to that issue, I have to wonder about the wisdom of the organizers to invite such a polarizing figure. Why wouldn't they invite a veteran to act in place of a politician at the ceremony? Poor judgment, says Don. It's tradition, and I put a question mark by that. This is based on my attendance at Remembrance Day services for many years, that when the Government of Canada wreath or the Province of Nova Scotia wreath is laid, it's usually a government official that does it, or at least somebody from that office. I was, as I mentioned, at the Korean Veterans Memorial, and Diana Whalen, who was a former cabinet minister, laid the wreath for the province. And the MP for the area's office staffer, I think, laid the wreath for the Government of Canada. So it might have been smarter to have a staffer from Chris D'Entremont's office to avoid that. But at the end of the day, it's inexcusable behavior, right? You don't bring politics into Remembrance Day. You don't boo people. Talk to him after. You want to talk to him after when he's out in the parking lot or in the foyer or wherever they are, or wherever the service was. That's the place to do that. You don't do it during the ceremony. It's a solemn service. It's akin to booing somebody at a funeral, right? What are you doing? Let's welcome Nelson to the show. Nelson, how are you?
Well, good day, Dan. Good day, good day. Now, Dan, I'd like to share with you something that I experienced this summer.
Sure.
Now, I experienced myself. I wasn't told about it. I had never read about it. I experienced it.
Okay.
Down in the town of Lunenburg, they were putting a new building in by their sewage treatment plant. A large construction company here won the bid from the government, and they hired a smaller construction company to go down and do the excavation. Now, I was invited down. I'm retired. I was invited down to watch this because the hole was 90 feet wide by 100 feet long by 25 feet deep. That's quite a hole.
That's huge.
Anyway, as they started digging the hole, it was normal. Taking off the soil, went down about 3 or 4 feet. And then we realized that what was being excavated was a garbage dump. We pulled out oil barrels, old containers, God knows what they were in, and
right.
all kinds of stuff like this. This has been sealed for quite a while. It looked by the stuff we took out of it that was maybe back in the 60s or 70s.
Okay.
Anyway, we were excavating this and got down about 10 feet or 15 feet, and water started coming in. Now, we were told that this would happen, that there was a water vein there. Water started coming in. So the excavating company went and got a large industrial pump, one of the big diesel pumps you tow behind your vehicle, and hooked that up.
Which is normal, right? That's normally what you do when you're digging these holes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It had a 4-inch hose onto it, and it had to pressure like a fire hose once that was fired up. We had to actually put stuff on the end of the pipe so it wouldn't whip around.
Okay.
Now, like I say, we pulled out of this oil drums, we pulled out of it transformers, all of this stuff in the hole. The excavating company wanted to build what's called a holding pond to put this water into so that it wouldn't, go everywhere. The main contractor refused that, and they had this water pumped out of this dump on the side of a bank, and at the bottom of this bank was the ditch to the road. And this pump ran for 6 weeks.
Wow.
Pouring out that poison.
Holy.
That was poured out down in Lunenburg into a ditch. And this went on for 6 weeks. All of that soil and all of that garbage that was taken out of there was piled on site. It's still there on site. Anybody can go and see it. The project is not finished. It was piled there on site. And at the bottom was slate rock. The slate rock was taken out. There was probably 20, 30 loads of slate rock, which is also piled on site. Now, this is the rock that the city just denied a company from putting into
that pyritic slate or whatever it's called, right?
This is what it is. That's also piled there. None of it was covered. All has been exposed. Right below where that is piled is a huge river running. Right below it. And with all this rain that has been happening, all of that has been running down into that river. And that has been going on since June.
Holy smokes.
That's what's going on down there. And I say to all of the people in Lunenburg, if you have problems with your wells, if the town of Lunenburg's water is polluted, go to your sewage treatment plant, look at those piles up there. They're still all contaminated, and there's probably a couple of hundred piles there, and the piles are probably 15 feet high.
Holy smokes.
And they're all full of contaminants.
Nelson, obviously you've been in the industry a long time. When you're doing an excavation, and I don't know, and you're doing an excavation like this, does the Department of Environment ever come by to see what you guys are doing, or any kind of official?
That is what shocked me.
Right.
Yes, I'm telling you, they do not want mud running from a site into the drain. They want you to build what they call verms and lay down hay,
right.
But nothing was done here. Absolutely nothing. Wow. And there was all kinds of white helmets there, all kinds of them.
Right.
We're back and forth, and I could not believe that this was happening. And this is still going on, and I just want to advise the people of Lunenburg that your water supply could very well be polluted. Have your wells checked. We've notified the council, the town council. Mm-hmm. We've notified them. We've notified the environment. But I'll be quite honest, I don't trust either one of them. These people cover this stuff up. This was done for a reason. This major company who won the contract, if they didn't know they could get away with this, they wouldn't have done it. And they're getting away with it. And on top of that, the small excavating company that was brought in to do the work, as they finished the work, this large company who got the contract has refused to pay them. They're trying to bankrupt the company so they won't have to pay them the money that they owe them.
Jeez.
So what they're doing is they're dumping raw poison into the ditch and letting it run off down into the river, and they stop paying this small excavating company simply for profit. It's pure profit. That's what's happening in this province of Nova Scotia. And anybody who wants to see it, go to the sewage treatment plant in Lunenburg, and you can see it from the road. You don't have to go on site. You'll see all those piles back there. I was involved in hauling them out, and I'm telling you, it is pure garbage. And we hauled out oil barrels. We hauled out transformers. Right. We hauled out all of this garbage because this was long before there was any regulations on garbage. And I would like to know how a company can get away with that, and why is there no accountability? I would like to see this company banned from ever bidding on another government contract, and I want it investigated. But will it be investigated? Probably not, because this is all going to be covered up unless the people of the town of Lunenburg and Lunenburg County go and see it and start asking questions. That's what has to be done here.
Nelson, I appreciate you sharing it with us.
And unfortunately, the company who was doing it, and I can give you your name, Dan, if you want the name of the company, I can tell you. I don't know if you want me to say that or not in the air.
Well, let's not, and maybe you can just shoot it to Vanessa off the air, and then we can reach out to them. How's that?
Yes, and I'd like any news reporters out there to go and investigate this. And I'm willing to testify in court or anywhere else because I was there on site when it was done. Test the soil. Test the soil and see the garbage that's in there. Transformers, you know what they carry? That's poison.
Yeah, there's PCBs
and that's what we dug out of there and put on site. And definitely, and the only thing that I'll say is, it's not who you think. It's not Dexter, but it's another huge construction company, and their name is the same as it starts with the first letter of the alphabet.
All right,
That's
Nelson.
all I'm going to say.
Okay,
right.
appreciate it. Have a good weekend. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Over to you, Department of Environment. We know you're listening. The Premier told us during our birthday broadcast that the departments listen to this show. That sounds like it's a pretty easy one if you're down and around in Lunenburg and you can see these things from the road. And Nelson's right that there's old oil barrels and transformers and all that kind of garbage there. Sounds like it's a pretty easy fix for me. Just saying. Friday Free For All continues after the news. Welcome back. Friday Free For All continues. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's go right to the phones and welcome Ian to the show. Ian, how are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. What's on your mind?
Good. I was hoping to talk to the Premier. You had him on, I think, just around Thanksgiving.
Right.
And I wanted to point out that Nova Scotia only has 6 stat holidays, the fewest in Canada. It would be nice that the rest of us would get a day off like the politicians do.
Right.
For example, we just had Remembrance Day. Someone that's working, I did not have it off. My kids do, so I need to take a vacation day. So you have mental health and you have burnout. And it'd just be nice that if the government can take the days off, surely it'd be nice that the rest of the province could take a well-deserved day off as well.
Particularly for Remembrance Day, right? Like,
absolutely.
Nova Scotia has weird rules with these retail closing days that they call them, and that it certainly, most of Nova Scotia gets the chance to get the day off, but many of you, like you, Ian, don't, right?
Well, it's up to the employer,
right.
But the employer usually goes, well, talk to the Department of Labor and Standards, and they just don't give you the day off because they're not covering the costs or whatever it is. But it'd just be nice to align Nova Scotia to the rest of the provinces who are getting 9 to 11 days off for stat holidays.
Ian, I appreciate it, sir.
All right.
Have a good day. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. I don't want to jinx it. But Vanessa's been working very, very diligently behind the glass. She does every day. But she's been working very hard to try and secure another interview with the Premier of Nova Scotia. We're almost there. So maybe next week we'll have an announcement when we can expect to have our next conversation with Tim Houston right here on the program. And I will say that when he does this, he does it for an hour, and it's very popular. So if you want to get your call in, get in early. That way you have a better chance of actually getting a chance to ask the Premier your question. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. I lost where we are, so let's welcome Sandy to the show. Sandy, how are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind, sir?
I got a letter from Nova Scotia Power yesterday telling me that my information could have been compromised.
Right.
And I didn't get one earlier in the year, so I thought I was in the clear. But when I heard that they were going to allow people access to the credit monitoring service, I signed up for it anyway, which turned out to be a handy thing. But that's not my biggest issue with them right now, although probably it should be. But when I got my power bill the other day,
right.
In the column on the right side there, it shows you what you used in kilowatt hours going back a year. And I've noticed this lately that my kilowatt hours seem to be going up significantly, and I don't feel like I'm doing anything different at home, like to the amount of about 20 to 25%. And so your bill goes up accordingly. And I don't know what the recourse is on something like that. I've heard other people talk about having the same scenario. But what do you do about something like that when your bill goes up? And I called them and they just give you excuses.
Well,
so,
Sandy, I've heard that a lot. I hear that from a number of people on the show that have said the same thing and have contacted Nova Scotia Power, and they said it's because they were estimating their bill. Do you think maybe that's what it is? It was an estimate that of the hack, the readers aren't working?
Well, I don't know if that's what it is or not, but if they're estimating your bill for that month, then if your actual usage is less than that, the next month you should see a corresponding decline in your bill.
One would think.
And I'm not seeing that.
Oh. I wish I had a better answer for you, Sandy, but it's, mine's going up too. And I noticed it on mine, and mine was an estimate, and they said that it will eventually, they'll make it good when they do actually get a reader on it. So I wish I had a better answer for you.
I haven't seen the results of that yet.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well, maybe some other people have the same problem. If we bark enough, maybe somebody will do something about it.
It tends to happen. Sandy, I appreciate it.
Okay.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. I know a couple of you have called me, and some of you have emailed me and said the same thing, that your kilowatt hour usage is up, and some of you say you've reached out. I reached out to Nova Scotia Power, and that's the answer that they gave me, and I get my power bill every couple months, so I don't know if there's going to be an adjustment because of that, but I'll let you know once I get my bill. But it was a bit of an eye-opener when I opened the last one, I will tell you that much. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Mike to the show. Mike, how are you?
I'm good, Dan. Thanks. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind, sir?
Just wanted to pretty much confirm everything Nelson told you.
Yeah. It's shocking to me,
the
man.
construction company down there, I know the owner personally, and plus the company I work for does business with him.
Right.
And it's unbelievable what they did down there. And just to clarify something that Nelson did say, he said it was a construction company that hired the other guy. It was actually not a construction company. It was actually the general contractor, the person who takes the job and hires out all the it's what they did is unreal down there. I can't believe that the sewage, like Lunenburg sewer plant, let it happen. Of all people, they're supposed to be the ones that clean up that kind of stuff.
I can't believe that there was no inspectors. Like normally the places are, those kind of sites are crawling with them, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. But I don't know if he left the name with you guys or not, but I can stay on the line.
Sure.
If Vanessa wants the name, and you guys can reach out to them.
For sure. Mike, I'm going to stick you on hold, and Vanessa will do that, okay? Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Limited experience in construction sites. I was a youngster when I was doing it, but I do remember working on building sites, not necessarily on old garbage dumps, but on building sites. And my boss and the foreman being very cognizant of those white hats that one of our callers was talking about, and being very cognizant that you had to follow the rules, particularly with safety, because you never knew when the inspectors were going to show up, right? And if it went for as long as it did, as this was 6 weeks, and there was never an inspection, that's just wild to me. Let's welcome James to the show. James, how are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm calling to comment on the Nova Scotia Power situation.
Sure.
I think it would be wonderful if you can get the Premier on again and include Nova Scotia Power on the list of topics to raise with him, because, of course, it's a bit of a hot mess, as they say. And ultimately, the province, and as you alluded to, he has commented that he's not thrilled with their request for rate increases in early 2026 and early 2027. So the service is poor, the cost is high, and they want it to go higher. It seems appropriate for the political authorities, to governmental authorities, to try to do something. By the way, I just confirmed, they created a new entity in the summer called the Nova Scotia Independent Energy System Operator.
That's the transmission part of it, is it not? Isn't that the lines, I think?
Basically, and they're supposed to get us over to renewables. But what they've done is take away, the transmission function from Nova Scotia Power and try to give it to someone who can do it properly. So to be continued, but it shows you that the government, like customers, doesn't have great faith in the organization. And I guess in Nova Scotia Power, Another thing, in the private sector, because it is indeed a private company, now it's a monopoly and a regulated monopoly, but in the private sector, if a company performs poorly, it's often the shareholders that bear a significant part of the brunt of that poor performance. The dividend goes down, in other words, because the company's not able to bring in as much revenue compared to their competitors. So I would submit, and maybe the Premier could comment on this, and I know there's a hearing coming up at the UARB, which isn't called that anymore.
Energy Board, I think it's called now. Yep.
Energy Board. Why not reduce the dividend, the target 9% rate of return? Why not make the shareholders bear some of the brunt for this mess? We've got people, they're getting, I've been that way too. Oh, just estimate your usage and send us whatever you think. Like, this is getting a little,
yes.
Farcical is the word, not comical. Farcical. Like, come on.
Right, I hear you. James, I'm up against the break, sir. I appreciate the call, okay?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Have a good one. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. I'm not sure, and I am not a lawyer. I'm not sure how that guaranteed 9%, if you can even adjust that, because I would assume it's in a contract somewhere, and then if that's the case, then you'd be breaching contract, and then there would be a lawsuit, and here we go. But maybe the province should, wait 120 days to pay their bills. That would certainly send a message, wouldn't it? We're back after the break. All right, welcome back. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. A few minutes left here in the Friday Free-for-All, so I'm going to try and keep my comments to a minimum so we can get as many calls in as we can. And we welcome Chris to the program. Chris, how are you?
Good morning. I'm fine, Dan, and yourself. You're good, I hope.
Very good, very good. What's on your mind today?
Look, just a little quickie on Nova Scotia Power and the Halifax Water Commission.
Yep.
As you are probably aware, I used to be a landlord, and we had a number of buildings in town that I paid all of the utilities on, so there weren't separate electrical or water meters. And I had made complaints similar to what one of your previous callers who thought his power bill was higher than it should have been, and it kept going up for no explanation or what have you. I contacted Nova Scotia Power, and they refused to do anything about it. Oh, no, well, it must be, the people, the way they use the power. So that was fine. That same set of flats, 2 units, were occupied by tenants that were students from Ontario for 2 years, and every summer they went away. So the building basically being just a small set of flats, we used literally no power from May until September and no water. Lo and behold, every year when those students were away and the building was vacant, and the power bills and the water bills all of a sudden plummeted, I got calls from Nova Scotia Power and Halifax Water. Oh, we need to get into the building right away. We think you've got a defective meter. We think you've got a defective water meter or what have you. And they weren't willing to acknowledge the fact that because the building was empty, they had to get in and look to make sure we weren't stealing power or stealing water. So my point, they're fast enough. If the reverse happens, if your bill dropped for some reason, they'll be in to check it out and see what's going on.
Yeah, but when it's the other way around, it takes them 6 months to get it done.
Well, yeah, but and something else, just quickly if I can.
Yep.
Who signed a contract with Nova Scotia Power? Would it have been the government to guarantee the shareholders 9.5% return? Where the hell can you go today, Dan, and get an investment with no risk and be guaranteed 9.5%?
Yeah, it was the province that signed the contract, and it was supposed to pay all the bills, right? And that just didn't happen.
Well, doesn't that underscore what idiots we have in government signing away our birthright here in Nova Scotia and in Canada, for that matter?
Chris, have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Kevin to the show. Kevin, how are you?
Oh, I'm pretty good. I'd like to take it back to the councillors earlier in the week.
Okay, all the way back to Monday. Got it.
Yeah, it's been festering on me. I think I just heard somebody that was talking to them and insisted that the seconder of a motion, he was appalled that she didn't know anything about the motion.
It was Councillor Hinch who seconded a motion that
whatever.
She said she didn't know much about. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Not my point. Now, I know that you didn't call anybody out on this and nobody else did, So anybody that knows Roberts or Rogers Rules of Order, people call it either Roberts or Rogers, doesn't really matter.
Yep.
Rules of Order, no. That. Let's say you and I are standing around a table, 10 people in our society.
Sure.
And one person stands up and starts talking about the price of eggs in China and goes on for about 30 seconds or so, and somebody else stands up, point of order. What are we talking about? And he said, the price of eggs in China. Oh, well, the chair would say, there's no motion on the floor. There has to be a motion on the floor before you can discuss anything.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what it is. So the guy says, well, I'd like to put motion on the floor to talk about the price of eggs in China. And the person sitting next to them, doesn't matter who it is, says, that might be a good idea because we buy eggs locally here. So they say, I'll second that motion. Now, that person that seconds the motion doesn't have to have any idea what's in the motion. None. Absolutely none. So this guy who browbeat this poor person on that they should know what's seconded in the motion, he's 100% wrong. 100% wrong. Should never have done that. He was just a bully. And bullies, if you say it long enough and loud enough, you'll even start believing it yourself. Now, Roberts or Rogers Rules of Order, there's a book on it. And if this person has ever been in any society, profit, not-for-profit, or anything, please don't tell us you were ever involved in that. And if you were, when the audit comes, and all of these places are audited, they'll say, well, you spent $5 on buying poppies. Yes, we did. Well, where's the motion corresponding to that? It's not there. Well, everything has to have a motion in order to discuss it. The seconder has no idea what's in it. Doesn't matter. They just think it's a good idea. Then once it gets on the floor, then people ask questions about the motion. That's when what's in the motion comes out. So this person is just uneducated. Just showed me how uneducated they were. I've been involved in these things since 1991, and this just irked me so much. If you're going to come on and browbeat somebody, at least be educated.
Kevin, appreciate the clarification.
Thanks.
Have a good one. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Nathan, who's another first-time caller. Nathan, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me fine?
I can hear you loud and clear. What's on your mind, sir?
Three things probably. Number one, bicycle lanes.
Right.
I'm a little late on the rant, but bicycle lanes, yeah, okay, I understand. I wish there was a survey or study that showed how many people use these lanes, and my big pet peeve is that cyclists, I don't visit the city often. I'm outside the city, but I'll be in traffic and there'll be a bicycler in front of me, and all of a sudden he'll decide to cut through cars and whatever. They don't pay insurance. They don't pay any sort of registration or anything like that. I wouldn't expect for them to pay like we do for cars, like a full-blown $600-700 a year, but there should be some sort of payment, I would think, if you're going to use the roads and whatnot to help cover the costs for these bicycle lanes. Your thoughts on that?
You're not the first person to bring that one up, Nathan. I think there is a report. It's on the city's website, but the numbers are a little ambiguous to read, but it's there if you want to search it out at halifax.ca.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I think any person in the city, like I live in the country, so I don't experience it, but any person in the city that want to use the roads and whatnot to travel, good for them, a good exercise, but they should be paying some sort of registration, just like the rest of us have to use the public roadways. My second thing, trying to keep it really short for you,
sure.
The poppy thing in the court.
Yep.
I didn't hear too much about it. All I can think back is Don Cherry was way before his time. I think poppies. I don't know why it's even a discussion about not being able to wear a poppy. That seems absolute ludicrous to me, and I don't know.
Nathan, appreciate the call, man. Appreciate it.
It seems crazy. But,
have a good one.
Thank you.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Last word today goes to John. John, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. What's on your mind, sir?
Actually, my name is Roger. This is a tough call.
Okay.
I was 7:40 last Friday driving to work, coming off the Stark Highway onto Wright Avenue and the Dartmouth Crossing, heading to work.
Uh-huh.
And I got extremely tailgated by a woman, and who proceeded to pull out and pass me and cut me off and get in front of me and slammed on the brakes.
Really?
It was completely premeditated. I have no idea who this woman is. As far as I'm concerned, she's the lowest of the lows as a human being. She cursed at me. She called me an idiot, and I couldn't believe it. And my car was written off because the airbag's deployed. And I want to let people know, if somebody's tailgating you, just be aware, because I couldn't believe that she pulled out. She gunned the engine. She pulled it and passed me, and she cut me off. I had no dash cam. If I had it, it would have showed what she did.
Right.
I was at fault, but she got in front of me, and by the time she got in front of me and slammed on the brakes, she came to a complete stop. I put on my brakes. I had no chance whatsoever.
Gee whiz.
Minding up my own business, driving to work. That's how crazy it is out there, Dan. It's incredibly insane with the amount of people that, I don't know if the amount, but I don't know what she was thinking.
Holy smokes.
Just insane. And anybody that knows me, they're probably going to recognize my voice. I'm honest as the day is long. Anyway, and it's been a tough week mentally for me.
Roger, I appreciate you sharing that with us, all right?
Okay.
I'm sorry that happened to you,
bye-bye.
man. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Remember those numbers, because we're going to do this again on Monday. Great calls today. Look forward to your calls next week. We're going to stop, take a break. On the other side of it, big weekend for the Halifax Mooseheads. Our play-by-play announcer, Garreth MacDonald, will join us to set things up. You're listening to The Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes. All right, welcome back. It's a weekend, and that, of course, in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey world means that there's going to be some action, and it's going to happen down there at Scotiabank. But we're getting to the point now where the Mooseheads are going to be away from home for a significant portion of time because, as we talked about earlier this week, there's a big event coming to our part of the world, and that, of course, is going to take over the Scotiabank Centre, and the Halifax Mooseheads are going to hit the road, let's say, in order to make that happen. So we're always very pleased to welcome our next guest to the program. Not only did you hear him on the radio last weekend, but you also saw him on television. How was that experience, Garreth MacDonald?
A face for radio, huh, Dan?
No way, man. You were you made with Craig Button, right? Who's is a friend, and you guys were styling and profiling.
It was it was great. It was a great experience at the U17 World Challenge in Truro. Great event. Hats off to Matt Moore, the host committee, a lot of great volunteers down there, some fantastic hockey, and thanks to Craig for bearing with me on my first TV game. He's a pro, and it was a ton of fun, all Canadian final, and I guess we were assured that the good guys would win that gold medal game last Saturday night.
Yeah, you didn't have to worry about it not being a Canadian team that won it.
Yeah, exactly. 2 Canadian teams in the final. I think there's almost a part of you hoping that you might get one Canadian team in each of those games. But hey, we'll take it. It was a lot of fun in both games, the bronze and the gold. They were a blast in Truro.
And now that he's done his TV piece, he's coming back to the friendly confines of radio, and you got a is this rivalry as big as it has been in the past between Halifax and Moncton, or is that Cape Breton rivalry becoming stronger?
I mean, I think those are the two most natural rivals. They're both right there. They're both right there. It's always a good game when the Mooseheads face the Eagles or the Wildcats. But I mean, the Moncton rivalry think when you look at some of the talent that the Wildcats have had the last couple of years, I mean, the Moose, if you look back to last year, for instance, the Wildcats were the best team in the league, and I think the Moose only beat them once in the 9 meetings. That was the first meeting of the year, and they lost the next 8. But they always showed up last season, and you got a lot of those Mooseheads back here this year, and maybe the Wildcats not quite as strong. So maybe this season looking for a little retribution after a tough year last season. But no, the rivalry it certainly lives on for sure.
It'll be a little bit of a different vibe, I think, on the weekend here, Gareth, when we go back to Scotiabank on news earlier this week of the death of Peter Bayless.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think a lot of heavy hearts there around the team, around the fan base. Peter was passion personified, I think, is how I put it earlier in the week. I mean, he always brought it, so enthusiastic. He got the crowd fired up. He got the team fired up before every game. He always brought the juice. That's for sure. I mean, I think just with the nature of what we did down there, we didn't cross paths too often, kind of on opposite sides of the rink, and then he'd be down below, I'd be up top. But anytime you'd see him around, just a fantastic guy who was just so passionate about what he did, and that was obvious for anyone who had an opportunity to hear him sing the anthem. So, and I mean, you look back to the home opener back on opening weekend, right. That game against the Islanders back on September 20th, seeing him out there to sing the anthem one more time. I mean, it was. Pretty poignant, pretty powerful moment, and one that kind of set the tone for the year. And I mean, that was just an unbelievable moment, and everybody pretty heartbroken, pretty sad with that news that came out that he passed earlier in the week. But our thoughts certainly with his loved ones. Tough time, but I think there'll be a lot of us singing that anthem a little extra loud in his honor this weekend.
Absolutely, and he will be sorely missed. Moving on to the team itself, Gareth, 18 games into the season, they're sitting with 23 points. We had expected better returns from the Mooseheads this year than at this point last year, but to be sitting third in the Eastern Conference right now, the future's looking pretty bright.
No, it certainly is. I mean, I think we have probably discussed it a couple of times that just heading into this year, you weren't really sure what you were going to get. There was just a lot of optimism, I think, within the fan base after what they saw the team do in the first round last year against Drummondville, beat the Bolts in 7 games with very, very young, very inexperienced roster, a group. Most of the team getting their first taste of playoff experience. So much of that youth back here this season. You get the extra import, 3 imports on rosters in the CHL permitted this year. Some of the changes last year with the NCAA rule change, and some of the free agents that have joined the Mooseheads, that have joined other rosters. I think with all of the change that's been circulating over the past year, you weren't really sure what you were going to get with this young Mooseheads team, a group that still only has one overager on their roster. I think the big question mark was in goal. We've been so accustomed to having Mathis Rousseau back there, and when he wasn't there last year in the second half, Jacob Steinman came in and was just world class. So the goaltending it was so good the last few seasons. A couple of question marks there with Owen Bresson, who was mostly untested in the queue, just joined the Shawinigan Cataracts midway through the year last year. The Moose had Nick Surka at just 16 joined the team after Christmas, and with the way Jacob Steinman was playing and the workhorse that he was, Nick Surka didn't get many reps last year in the second half. So I think that was definitely a big question mark for the Mooseheads. But their goaltending this year, it has been stellar. And any questions, I think, at this early point in the season, they've been answered so far because both guys have been phenomenal. And I think they've been a big part of the success of the team and a big part of the reason the Mooseheads are 2-1 here in the season series with the Moncton Wildcats, the team that they'll be facing on Saturday night.
And Saturday night's game, of course, will all the rivalry and all of the all of the things that are attached to that. But then hometown fans are going to not see the Mooseheads for a couple weeks as they get ready to head out on a road trip so that the facility can be turned into a curling rink.
Yeah, and I guess we should point out that's an afternoon game. That's actually a matinee matchup on Saturday. Rare matinee game on a Saturday for the Moose with all the goings on downtown. So yeah, I think that place will be buzzing for that game on Saturday. But yeah, like you said, we'll see the Scotiabank Centre converted, a flurry of curling activity over the next few weeks, and the Moose are going to hit the road. They got their second Quebec road trip of the year coming up. I think the first one was pretty good. First couple of games, wins over the Blainville Boisbriand Armada. Did pick up a point against the Rouyn-Noranda Huskies. Maybe didn't bring their best stuff in their last game against Val-d'Or. But all in all, not a bad road trip through Quebec first time around. This time they will head out. They'll head out early next week. They're off to Quebec, Baie-Comeau, and Chicoutimi. So busy schedule coming up there, a lot of travel. It's always fun, those games at the Videotron Center in Quebec City. I think those are ones that the guys always get pretty fired up for. That's an NHL team-ready facility. You know, at any point you could have an NHL team just slide right in there and take over that place. So that's always fun. The bright lights of Quebec City and Quebec maybe not getting off to the start that they would have imagined at this point. You know, it's just the third season since they won the Gilles Courteau Trophy back in 2023. So I think this is a team that's now expected to maybe start winning a few more games than they have at this point. Baie-Comeau, they had a pretty abysmal start. I think it wasn't until the 24th of October, so more than a month in before they finally won a game. They're picking up a few wins right now, but I would say those two games, those should be winnable games for the Mooseheads, and they've also got Chicoutimi in that mix as well. And it's always tough to go into the George Vesna Center in Chicoutimi. Lots of room out there for the home team, so used to playing that on that Olympic-sized sheet. That's the biggest ice surface in the queue, and the only Olympic-sized ice that exists in the league. So those are always fun games for the Mooseheads imports, who will be a little more accustomed to that big ice. But the Saguenay, they've been building toward this season for quite a while. You know, you got Maxime Massé, Emile Guité leading the way for them. Couple of talented Anaheim Ducks prospects. So they're a real solid team. They've got a lot of good 18 and 19-year-old talent in the mix. They're going to be expected to make a big push come playoff time. So that won't be an easy contest. So those are the three games that the Mooseheads have coming up on the road trip. And then the following week, they'll be off to Newfoundland. A couple of games over on the Rock, their first two trips over there for the franchise. And about 17 years. It's been a long time since we've had Q hockey over there in St. John. So that'll be real fun for the group as well. Something that again they'll get to experience for the first time together.
It all begins Saturday. The game time 3:00. You can catch Garreth live here on the station. Pre-game starts at 2:30. Looking forward to it, my friend. Have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you very much, Dan. You as well. Always great to chat.
That is Garreth MacDonald, our play-by-play announcer here. And you can catch his call on all Halifax Mooseheads games, both at home and on the road. When we come back, easiest way to frame this next segment is, what the heck is going on the St. Margaret's Bay Road? A conversation with District 13 Councillor Nancy Hartling when we come back. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. See you after the break. Well, this next story was making the rounds on social media, and a couple of callers brought it to our attention who were actually stuck in the traffic on St. Margaret's Bay Road and on Peggy's Cove Road a couple of days ago, and now the story is kind of getting picked up by everybody as the commuter frustration continues to boil over. It shouldn't take. Somebody called us yesterday and said that an 8-minute drive somewhere in Upper Tantallon took them almost an hour. That's unacceptable, isn't it, Nancy Hartling?
How you doing, Dan? Thank you so much for having me on.
I'm glad that you were able to join us today. Are you hearing the same frustrations I am about this construction?
Oh, you bet I am. Absolutely. It's been a long haul for the folks in Upper Tantallon and St. Margaret's Bay. And Tantallon, yeah.
Now,
it's been a long haul, but we are nearing the finish line. We are getting close. We are getting close. I'm actually just at Four Corners right now having a look around, and what can I say? I'm looking forward for it to be done. Yeah.
Now, some people are saying, Nancy, that they're being held up in behind those stop signs for the construction for like in excess of 45 minutes. Are there rules in the books that limit that, or I'm not sure how that works?
No, I don't think that there's like a limit. And honestly, I can't speak to any given moment in time. Like, I know that I've had my frustrations. I think everybody in the municipality has felt like they've been stuck behind a stop sign for far too long. But where we are now is that the challenges that I think that we're experiencing now, they should be subsiding. Thank goodness. The road work in St. Margaret's Bay, that should be wrapping up, depending weather pending. I know, here in St. Margaret's Bay, they are continuing on today. Currently, they're on the side of the Peggy's Road that heads up towards Bootlears Point.
Right.
But yeah, I think Wednesday was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for a lot of folks around here. 2 traffic lights had to be suspended. And then Thursday, it was a grind as well. But it's not too bad here today, certainly not right now. So, what we really need to do is just get through this and from what I understand, the province, the provincial road, the Peggy's Cove Road, that will be going on, I think, for another couple of weeks. But here at the top of St. Margaret's Bay, on the St. Margaret's Bay Road, the paving should, like I said, be wrapping up in the next day or so. And then they will be moving on to painting the lines. That will be much less intrusive in terms of traffic delays.
Nancy, I saw on the news last night some of the local businesses along there say that this construction is impacting their bottom line. I know that construction everywhere impacts business bottom line. There's really nothing we can do about that, is there?
Well, what I can say is, to the folks in St. Margaret's Bay and to the folks across HRM, come visit us. There are quite a few businesses that have been, very negatively impacted over the summer where, during the times of the year where they should be, making their most money, having their best seasons. Unfortunately, the St. Margaret's Bay Rails to Trails, that was closed for a decent part of the summer. So they've been feeling it all the way around. So, folks, whether you live out here, whether you just want to come out here and visit, be a part of some of the, most beautiful communities in all of Nova Scotia. What can I say? You need to come out and experience this place and do some shopping while you're here.
Nancy,
we could definitely use the support.
For sure. Nancy, and I don't know if you can even answer this question, but to me, it puzzles me that there can be a provincial construction project and a city construction project happening near the very same intersection at the same time. Is there not a way that we can stagger these so one happens and then the other one so that it's less impactful to traffic?
Yeah, I mean, if you live in this neck of the woods, then you'll know that construction season and tourist season is unfortunately the same season. What I can say is that the municipality and the province, they have been coordinating to make the most impactful work happen as far apart as they can. That coordination has taken place. You won't feel it when you're in your car and you're really frustrated and angry, as anybody can appreciate. The other thing to keep in mind too, and this is just the reality of living on the 333, is that that road is 63 kilometers end to end, and so there is no way to go around it. You have to go through it, and that really is just another piece of the reality of living out this way and dealing with construction on the Peggy's Cove Road.
Obviously we learn lessons from these things, Nancy. In the future, is there, any way that we can avoid these kind of delays?
How do we avoid these kind of delays? What can I don't know that there's a future where, all of HRM will never experience, traffic delays moving forward. I can definitely say that St. Margaret's Bay has had their fill
right.
for the next little bit. Yeah.
I appreciate you joining us today, Nancy. Have a good weekend.
Thank you so much.
That is District 13 Councillor Nancy Hartling, and I understand her position that we need to close roads for construction, right? People, and I think we talked about this earlier when this story broke on the show here, that people complain about road conditions, and then we convince the city staff to do them, and then the construction happens and we complain about the construction while the road's getting fixed, right? That's normal. But there has to be a way in 2020, almost 6, that we can have 2 work projects. 1, the provincial project on Peggy's Cove Road. 2, the city project on St. Margaret's Bay Road. Why at the same time? Right? I truly feel sorry for y'all that have been stuck in there. That would drive me bananas to be stuck in a car for 45 minutes or longer just to get through a construction site. Hopefully, Councillor Hartling is correct. Then that paving will be done in the next day or so, and this will be just an anecdote in history when we're talking about this at Christmas time when we're eating turkey. But it's frustrating, isn't it? It really is. Time to stop for the news. We're going to continue the show on the other side of it, of course. It's time for our weekly get-together with our soon-to-be meteorologist, and we'll ask him about that. Aalders Aalders will be here for his weekend weather wrap-up. Back after the news. All right, welcome back. It's Friday, isn't it? We're so glad that it is because we can see the finish line now. And look at that. Right the second that our weather specialist sits down in his chair, the sun comes out.
The skies open up. and not in the rain sense.
That voice you hear, of course, is our weather specialist. You hear him here in the morning. You hear him in the afternoon. You hear him this position on Friday. Every week, and that, of course, is Aalders Aalders. I get a number of people that ask me the question, Alistair, so I thought we would take the first minute or two of our segment today to explain why it is that we call you a weather specialist rather than a meteorologist. Why is that?
Well, I mean, I guess kind of the main point is that I technically don't have a meteorology certification, or I guess a scientific degree to this point. I will, in a very short time, be changing that title to meteorologist.
By the end of the year,
By the end of the year, so I'm very much looking forward to that. You know, the term weather specialist has become, I think, more common over the last several years, just more so for people who work in media, typically with a background in journalism or some form of media training, who report or cover the weather but just don't have the qualifications or the degree in science and meteorology. So that's kind of where that term came from. I mean, there have been a number of terms used, obviously, over the years that have changed with time. So that's why I have the weather specialist title, but very much looking forward to changing that in less than a month's time to meteorologist. So
less than a month to go.
I've been completing my Bachelor of Science with a focus in geosciences and broadcast meteorology. So I will have those qualifications all set in stone in a very short period of time.
Titles aside, just look how accurate it is, right? That's really all we care about, is if you get the darn weather right, right?
Exactly. That, you know, the thing about weather, I mean, we could have a debate about, you know, weather specialists versus meteorologists. I would argue personally, I've never had an issue with the title weather specialist myself, and I think a lot of people who are interested in weather who may not have that degree can be just as passionate about weather and can gain just as much knowledge about it. But obviously, having that degree and that training is certainly been great to experience, and it will be great to have that completed very shortly. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
The question has been asked and answered. We're moving on.
I hope that answers everyone's question. Maybe, you know,
pretty soon we're gonna have to.
When everything is finalized, maybe we can.
We just
talk
call him
about it a bit
Alistair
more
around here. Does it really matter? Anyway, when he gets his degree, we're gonna have to get him a new chair. So that's something we'll have to put into the capital budget for next year. Anyway, that's enough jaw jacking, as they say around here, Alistair. Let's get to the reason why you're in here today, and that is to take a look at the weather. And I know that many people are looking forward to tomorrow night.
Yes,
because it's the Parade of Lights. And what can you say with all of that knowledge that you have about what the weather's going to be like when we do the Parade of Lights?
Yeah, it's looking good this year. I mean, obviously it goes rain or shine, I think, except for that one year a couple years ago when just for the safety, I think, of the spectators, we were getting a lot of rain and wind. They decided to cancel it, but it always goes rain or shine. And this year it is looking dry. Saturday itself, if you're, a lot of people, make a day out of it, it's going to be cool. Only, 3 degrees the high Saturday. Some early morning sunshine, and then I think more clouds than sun as the day goes on. There will certainly still be a bit of sun in the mix. And then parade time, kicks off around 6 o'clock. People start lining the streets, usually sometime after 5, and obviously, you're there until the parade goes by you, and so it goes into, the first part of the evening near +1. So cool. You'll want to have your full winter gear on, but
I was going to say parents probably want to put their kids in their snowsuits.
Hats,
right? Because you're going to be standing
gloves
still for a
and
while.
mittens. Yeah. So certainly dress for the weather, but it is looking dry. There is no rain in the forecast for Saturday. Now, obviously, another big parade happens on Sunday in Bedford. The Light Up Bedford Parade always happens on the Sunday, and hoping that the rain perhaps comes in a little earlier, that it could taper off just in time. I think they kick off at 5:30 on Sunday, but a chance that could be a rainy and windy parade. Certainly Sunday itself looking wet and windy. Mild, though, 10 degrees, so the temperature does rise, but we are looking at, 10 to 20 millimeters of rain if we get some downpours, perhaps 20 to 30 pockets in HRM, and the winds gusting upwards of 60, possibly at times to 70, later in the morning and the afternoon. So much of Sunday not looking nice, but if the system can come in just a bit earlier, which models this morning were not fully in agreement on, if it could come in earlier, it would move out a bit earlier, and perhaps during parade time, it would be looking drier. But certainly dry for the Halifax Parade of Lights Saturday evening. For Sunday, possibly soggy, windy, but mild.
I think the Navy's buzzing us. Anyway.
It's pretty loud in here. Probably can't hear it at home
Hi, guys,
on the radio.
If you're listening to the show, thanks. We appreciate it. Anyway, Allister, the rainfall, we've been in this pattern for the last, couple of weeks where it's been on and off, right? We'd have a day of rain, then no rain, then a day of rain, and then no rain. It's kind of weird that it's been that consistent.
It's been a nice change. I haven't heard a lot of complaints for the most part, and it's been certainly beneficial. I mean, it was kind of the last week of October that we started to kind of see that change. It kind of kicked off, before and around Halloween, and then, as you mentioned, we've been on kind of this day, I'll say fair, not always quite as sunny, and then day rainy and windy, and it's certainly been adding up. Month to date, 130 to 150 millimeters of rain just since the beginning of November here in the Halifax area. So, I mean, we're well on track to normal precipitation for the month, if not going to exceed that unless we see a complete reversal of the pattern, which doesn't look likely at this point. So it has certainly been just very beneficial. And I know maybe we would like a few more than just a day's break in the weather to enjoy a bit more sunshine, but obviously the deficit in terms of the rainfall through the summer and the first part of the fall was so substantial that even though we're getting this rainfall, we still have a large deficit to get out of. And it's nice that we're getting it, if we can make as much progress as we can before the ground freezes for the season, it will set us up to be in better shape in the early part of the spring, because I think we're still, to some extent, not necessarily to the severity, but to some extent, unless we just continue to make up for the several months deficit, we'll go into the winter with, still things not completely back to normal, because it's just now that we're starting, you've been talking about it, I've been hearing from people that well levels are just starting to recharge.
It takes a while for the rain to make its way into the aquifers, right?
Exactly. People have been asking me, well, certainly the drought must be over now. It's been raining so much, and while obviously, we see at the surface, puddles, the ground seems like it is, wet. It does take, obviously some of that is running off, and then obviously it takes time for that to seep and recharge the underground aquifers. So it's only now that I'm hearing from people that, I had one person say the drought is, not over. It's just now that we can finally resume regular showers in their home. It's just now that they're not having to ask for water delivery to bring up the levels in their well. It's just starting to recharge now. So, it might seem like things maybe should be back to normal just given how rainy the pattern has been, but the thing with drought is that it doesn't just end overnight or end with a few rainy systems. It really does take quite a bit of time to get things back to where we should be. And it will likely persist into the upcoming winter and spring.
And I know that those in the agriculture industry also looking at this rain and getting that good soak in the ground to set things up for next year, right?
Well, that's the thing, too. We have to look long term because I would, argue to some extent, talking with Todd this time last year, we were in a bit of a precarious situation with a worsening drought. And it wasn't until the following spring in April and May that we were able to recover from it because obviously the ground froze up and, varying factors through the winter into the spring didn't completely recharge that. And we had a few solid months of rain in the spring that helped bring that back. But obviously, if we are going into the next season still in a deficit or things aren't back to where we should be, then we're looking at, okay, we need the spring to perform okay and even outperform so that we're in a okay situation for, say, next summer, because obviously we just don't know. This summer I think is a bit of an exception in terms of how dry and how rain-free it has been, but obviously the rainfall gets very localized, as you know, through the summer and into the first part of the fall seasons. So we rely on that, not only the winter precipitation and the snow, we really could use a normal winter in terms of snowfall and then a normal precipitation trend through the spring to really bring things back to where they should be.
So in summary, tomorrow, dry, maybe a little breezy, little cold.
Yeah, gusts 15 to 30. So, especially where it's 3 degrees for the high, you'll be feeling that wind a bit more.
Now that wind chill is going to start working its way in, right?
Exactly. That'll be in the forecast before we know it.
And Sunday, a little wet and a little warmer.
Yeah, mild, 10 degrees, but rain and gusty winds.
And Monday?
Monday, the low is going to linger because we're still dealing with this. We talked about earlier in the week, this kind of upper level blocking that's southeast of Greenland. So the low does somewhat stall, but it's more so mainly cloudy, chance of showers, but it does cool down back to the mid-single digits. And then finally looks like, towards the middle of next week, at least a few solid days in terms of a break with, no precipitation, but certainly cooler than average temperatures.
That's Aalders Aalders, our weather specialist, soon-to-be meteorologist, and he's here every Friday to bring us up to speed. Have a good weekend, my friend.
You too, Dan.
And we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I can hear him laughing on the phone already. That is our sports guru, Cecil Wright. Oh, those Patriots. We're back after the break. I got up this morning, and the very first thing, because I can't stay up to watch Thursday Night Football. I just can't anymore. I watched first quarter maybe of the game, and then went off to sleep. And first thing I did before I even rolled out of bed was I grabbed my phone this morning and I checked the score, and I went, oh, Cecil's going to be insufferable. And there he is on the phone. How you doing, Cecil?
I'm just wonderful. How are you?
Not too bad. You by chance didn't watch any NFL football last night, did you?
I watched from start to finish. And I gotta say one thing though, before I tell you how great my Patriots are. I was impressed with the effort that the Jets gave. I really was.
Jets are a better team, man. I mean, they beat the Browns the week before, right? So
yeah.
It's not like they're just mailing it in. They're a team, I think, that with some help perhaps can be a winning team.
Well, they need a quarterback,
right.
And Justin Fields, as much as I like him as an athlete, he's not a quarterback. He was in college, but obviously this is a different situation for him. But with all the draft picks that they got coming up, I would say they'll probably get one next year or the following year in the draft.
It's always a crapshoot, though, right? When you draft a college quarterback. I mean, use the Browns as an example. I can't even remember how many first-round picks that we put in that position that have that have failed, except for maybe Baker Mayfield, who failed in Cleveland, but certainly isn't in Tampa.
Well, he certainly is not. In fact, he's doing very well in Tampa. My Patriots beat them last weekend. I just want to throw that in there. Yeah,
I know. So
come on, man, give them credit.
They're 9-2. And if you'd have told me, I think you probably tried to tell me at the beginning of the season that they would be in this position with the best team in football at this point, I don't think many people would have put money on that.
Neither would I have. I had them at this point in the season, in my preseason selection. I had them at I think 6-4 at this point, and had my fingers crossed that it would be 6-4. But now, the only two winning teams they have remaining are Buffalo and in Baltimore, and they're not even a winning team yet. However, I suspect they will be by the time they play. That's it. Everybody else is terrible.
Yeah.
We got this in the bag, baby.
Oh, Cecil, you're going to jinx it. You know how that goes. That all being said, you've got Buffalo, who aren't necessarily the Buffalo of the past, and the Ravens, who, as long as Lamar Jackson stays healthy, are a contender. But then, you're right. You could be the number one seed at the end of the season.
We should be. If things go according to plan, we will. And don't forget now, the fact that we already beat Buffalo in Buffalo is huge.
Yep.
Because, we've got a better record inside the division and inside the conference. So if anything comes down to a tie, the Patriots will advance as a result. And I just love that. All these Buffalo fans that have come out of the woodwork the past couple of years, it's nothing but crickets right now.
They're busy breaking their own tables. Anyway, Cecil, the amount of pressure for somebody to be behind center in New England when you walk into the stadium past the statue of Tom Brady has to be just absolutely astronomical. And I got to tell you, I wasn't a believer at the beginning of the season in Drake May, but I've watched the Patriots, with the exception of last night. I've watched them for the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks in a row, and the guy's for real.
He's cool and calm, doesn't get rattled. I just wish that, before he gets sacked, sometimes he'd just throw the ball away. That would be my preference. But I think that he doesn't want to turn the ball over, so he'll take the hit rather than go down. I don't want to. Who's the backup quarterback if anything happens to him?
Right, exactly.
Nobody knows. So they got to keep him his uniform clean. So far, the offensive line has been doing much better than I think people thought they were going to do, especially with two rookies on the left side. I mean, how many other teams in football have two rookie offensive linemen as their starting left tackle and left guard? None that I know of.
Right. Time will tell when we. Anything can happen in the NFL, right? Look what happened to Buffalo and Miami last week. It can happen.
Yeah, don't remind me.
Cecil, we're almost out of time, but of course want to talk about the big game here in Halifax this weekend, and that goes tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock at Husky Stadium. St. Mary's in the UTEC Bowl against Montreal. How about that?
Yeah, that's great for St. Mary's. Historically, Montreal has always been really big, with solid receivers and good running backs. But I'm going with St. Mary's. I got to give the hometown team the nod. They've been kicking everybody's butt around here. I don't expect them to kick Montreal's butt, but I expect them to win by 10.
Can you imagine? It's been a while since we've seen St. Mary's in the Vanier Cup, right?
Absolutely, it's been a long time.
It would be something to see, wouldn't it? Grey Cup's on the way as well. Cecil, who are you taking in the Grey Cup?
You want me to be honest?
Yeah, well, always. Don't say Saskatchewan. Please don't say Saskatchewan.
I rarely watch the CFL.
Yep.
Although I do like watching the playoffs. They're always entertaining and exciting.
And they have been, too.
But I'm going to go with Saskatchewan.
Oh, man.
Sorry.
I know.
Sorry to break your heart, buddy.
Yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, Cecil, appreciate it, man. Have a good weekend, and go Huskies, go.
All right. Talk to you next week.
That is Cecil Wright. He is our sports guru. It would be fantastic. And how good would that be for the Huskies program to see them on that national stage at the Vanier Cup. But again, you don't ever want to, in sports, don't ever look past the opponent of the day, and that's Montreal, who come in with a pretty significant team. So I think that football fans will be in for a treat on tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock down there at Husky Stadium, and we wish the very best for SMU and their Huskies. We're just about done for the week. Of course, the Halifax Mooseheads are in town on Saturday as well. That's a 3 o'clock start. Just wanted to be sure that you all remember that. It's a rare 3 o'clock start on Saturday, which is tomorrow. It's Moncton, folks. We know that rivalry, it's not maybe as strong as it used to be, but it's certainly there. And I urge you, if you haven't been down there, to go in and take a game on at the Scotiabank Centre before the herd hit the road for several, and we welcome Canada's best curlers into the facility. We're going to talk about that next week. We're going to hook up with some of the organizers of the Olympic trials. This is a big event, folks. This is this tournament will select the men's and women's team that will represent the red and white at the Olympic Games. So it will be it'll be fun to watch, and even if you're not a curling fan, get down there and enjoy some of it. The Patch is a fun place to be, I'll tell you that much. That's going to about do it, everybody. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. As I always say, get out there and enjoy some of the wonderful things that we have here in our province. We're so very lucky to live here, and as you heard earlier in the show, so many people spend so many thousands of dollars to come here and see it, and we get to look at it and go out and experience it every single day. We're truly blessed to live in such a beautiful province. Thank you to Vanessa Vandenez on the other side of the glass for all the hard work that she does each and every day, keeping this show in order and getting the guests that you hear. She is a rock star. Until Monday, everybody, be well and be kind to one another.